a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Dave X Media.
Saket clicked her mandibles in a gruesome, foamy grin. Some of her scorpions advanced, but when the first one touched the glowing lines of our protective circle, it sizzled and turned to ashes. Mark my words, nothing smells worse than burned scorpion. The rest of the horrible things retreated, swirling round the goddess and crawling up her legs. With a shudder, I realized they were wriggling into her robes. After a few seconds, all the scorpions had disappeared into the brown folds of her clothes. The air seemed to darken behind Saket, as if she were casting an enormous shadow. Then the darkness rose up and took the form of a massive scorpion tail, arcing over Saket's head. It lashed down at us at blazing speed. But Zia raised her wand, and the sting glanced off the ivory tip with a hissing sound. Steam rolled off Zia's wand, smelling of sulphur. Zia pointed her staff toward the goddess, engulfing her body in fire. Saket screamed and staggered backward, but the fire died almost instantly. It left Saket's robe seared and smoking, but the goddess looked more enraged than hurt.
Welcome to Of the Oldest Gods, where we discuss Rick Riordan's role as our godly parent.
I'm Raye, following the path of Geb.
And I'm Charlie, following the path of Bast.
And I'm Adele, and I'm following the path of Hathor, which we decided after a lengthy debate over which goddess was not only sexier, but like witchier and more divine feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And more homosexual.
And you went with the one that wasn't as witchy because you wanted to date the other one.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I just have to reiterate it.
It was a very tough decision. On one hand, one of the goddesses was associated with beer, and I like beer. But on the other one, associated with music, and I like a good party. So it's hard out here. It's hard making these decisions.
Truly. How are you doing, Adele? How's it been? This is a new series you're being brought on for.
Heck yeah, bruh.
Yeah, honestly, returning to my roots. I was an ancient Egyptian stan kid before I was a Greek mythology kid.
Fuck yeah.
We're really returning to the roots here. Yeah, like we're talking ancient Egyptian like Playmobil sets. And they still exist. They're in my parents' parents' storage.
The images.
That's adorable.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I have an ancient Egyptian like Sphinx storage somewhere. Papyrus, like paintings that people would bring back from Egypt for me in my like childhood bedroom. Definitely wasn't obsessed. Definitely not. So I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited to like dive into this world. I reread the chapters up to this, and I forgot like how rich this world is. Like,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how different he's been writing for the Red Pyramid series, and like you can see him trying new things. You can see him pushing out of the normal comfort zone for the readers as well. And I'm sure it was like very nerve-wracking for him to kind of introduce like a new mythos for his readers who were so accustomed to Greek. But yeah, it's fun. It was really fun rereading. So I'm really excited to talk about this. Yeah. Because I've only I haven't reread this series in a long time versus Percy Jackson, which I'm much more familiar with. But yeah.
Well, I was just about to ask you about that. I'd like to reintroduce you to our audience. Tell us a little bit about you, your history with these books, and your pronouns, as always.
Yes. Well, I'm Adele, she, her. And yeah, these books, after Percy Jackson's book 5 came out, I think I was buying every single Rick Riordan book new. So I had them all on hardcover.
Yeah.
And, for me, I think this book came out in what? I want to say 2012? 2011? Yeah, something like that. I was still in middle school.
2011, something like that.
Something like that. So I was still in middle school. I remember the hype. And yeah, for me, I was just like, I remember, I wasn't as familiar with Greek mythology when I was reading Percy Jackson as a kid, but I was really familiar with the Egyptology, when I was reading these. So this actually felt like a more comfortable world for me. You know, did you guys have that Egyptology book that was like gold? You know, there was like wizardology,
I have
Egyptology.
seen it. Yeah, but no. I'm actually not very familiar with like Egyptian mythos, which and so I think it's really interesting that you are, because I feel like the Greek shit is more entrenched in like our cultural awareness. And so like, you know, a lot of these concepts, I've only read the first 2 books once, as far as I remember. And so a lot of these are like me being reintroduced to concepts that I have no familiarity with otherwise. That was a hard word for me just now.
Yeah, well, I think Greek and Roman culture is so entrenched in our like modern culture. And, you know, I could get into the history of that, but then we'd be here all day.
Yeah, it'd be a whole thing.
Oh, what? Back in the Renaissance, blah, blah, blah. But as a kid, I'd be like, oh yeah, I could talk about like the unification of like Upper and Lower Egypt. Like, I know what these crowns symbolize. Like,
that's so sick. I love that.
So I think I needed more friends, but
I did have a little bit of an Egyptian phase too. Definitely not as big like some of the Greek and Roman stuff, but yeah.
For me, y'all were actually doing shit. I was sitting at the lunch table reading Warrior Cats. Like,
I was also reading Warrior Cats.
Okay, well, good.
I was sitting
writing
at the lunch
Warrior
table
Cats
reading
fanfic.
Reading this.
Yeah.
Charlie has shown us Red Pyramid, the book.
I have distinct memories of reading these books.
There's a couple scenes that stick out for me for this series. We haven't gotten here, like, there's like one scene where they're eating something really spicy in this book, and you guys haven't gotten there yet, but I think about that every time that my mouth is on fire from spice. I think about this one scene where this happens to the characters and like what they do. It's like ingrained in my memory. I could not tell you anything else that really happens in the plot, like, because it's just been so long. With this like spicy, and I don't mean spicy, like they're eating spicy food. Yeah, it's stuck with me. Yeah.
I definitely have shit like that, like from these books in particular, because, you know, I think that's just how like kid and teen brains work, where you're just like, this is like a core memory. It's in here forever. I could not tell you any of the rest of the plot.
Not me trying to figure out which chapter that was and trying to put you on for it.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we have to actually, now that we have that.
But also, like, my love of ancient Egypt was definitely reignited when I watched Moon Knight. Marvel's Moon Knight, I guess, came out, like, what, 2 years ago now?
Don't say anything.
I am watching Moon Knight for the first time on our bonus show. I've seen the first episode now. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, I won't say anything, but it was fantastic. And it was, like, it was so fun stepping into that world. Like, they did a really good job. It was definitely a really, really, really good show. And Marvel's had some hits and some misses recently, so that one was really good.
It's just like, it's too much to keep up with, so I stopped caring. But, you know, that doesn't mean that they don't make any stuff that's, like, fun. So,
yeah, this one was quite good. And it was so fun to, like, step back into that world of ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians were crazy. Like, they were freaky. And honestly, like, rereading these books made me like realize that, like, the way that Rick describes some of their practices and stuff for this young adult audience, I think he does it really well. But he definitely, like, they're freakier than I think it's like a freakier explanation than like explaining like Greek and Rome, if that makes sense. Like the whole like hieroglyphics and like they painted people sideways, you know, so that they'd have all their limbs in the afterlife.
A lot of stuff that feels incredibly superstitious. Like, specifically.
Yes, they were so superstitious. Super superstitious society. Like, I would definitely say much more so than the ancient Greeks. much more so. But
yeah.
And also like the role of like priests and like magicians in their society was like so much more revered, I think, than I don't know, like you had, for example, like the Oracle of Delphi in Greek society, and like, yeah, that's an important figure, but like if you were like the temple leader in Egypt for, you know, X god or goddess, like you were like hot shit. I don't know, I think it was just like a whole other level. And I think especially since the pharaohs believed they were incarnations of the divine, whereas with Greek society you don't really have that as well, because they're all Greek city states and they're all ruled differently. Yeah, it's just fascinating. It like, I think Rick's done a really good job of introducing readers into the worlds,
and like
in a fun, familiar way,
kind of melding the ideas but also differentiating them. Like, it doesn't feel like this can't coexist with Percy Jackson, but like it does have its own like super unique and fun world building. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, like when fans got their hands on this book and there's that like one line about, oh, we stay away from Manhattan, fans went crazy. we were like, oh my god, like that's because of XYZ, like oh my gosh, it's in the same universe, like what a time to be alive.
I'm so excited for us to read the crossover short story in the future. I specifically remember that.
The thing is, it's 3 short stories and they happen after Heroes. So sadly, we have to wait till after we cover all of Heroes.
God.
Oh, but Heroes is we get there. So good. Heroes
it's going to be so
good.
long though. It's
my one true love of the entire Percy Jackson series, I think, is is in Heroes. So
well, we'll get there eventually.
You'll get there eventually. Yeah. But now we're in Egypt. So.
Do you guys want to know about this chapter?
Yeah, we're
real
in
quick?
Egypt. I'd love to know about this chapter. What was the title? I jumped through the hourglass.
That's it.
Did we jump through an hourglass?
There is no literal hourglass. It is a swirling portal of sand. I will allow it.
Yeah. I did get a little confused at the chapter title. Okay, I gotta say, I do think the chapter titles are a little weaker.
They're not as good as Percy Jackson, and I feel like that's because Percy himself has such a strong narrative voice, and his narrative voice is explicitly snarky little guy, which makes for great chapter titles.
Yeah, like the one where it was like Bast goes green or Muffin goes green or whatever it was. It took me a while to like, I was like, why is that like funny? But then I was like, oh, you're going green, like you're, I don't know, into recycling.
Yeah.
Like, that confused me. But
I forgot that her powers were fucking green when we got to that chapter.
Right, it like, doesn't feel especially relevant. Like,
I know, it's like, but I mean, who's even speaking in this chapter?
This is a Sadie chapter.
Oh, Sadie, yes. Okay, I've always preferred Sadie's chapters.
Oh.
So
you and Charlie, I'm a Carter stan. Love the boy.
I don't like Carter.
No, I don't like Sadie. I'm just
with
saying.
the rebel girl.
Yeah, I have a soft spot in my heart for like the bumbling idiot boy. Like,
he's just
it's
soft and anxious, and I appreciate that about
him. I know,
him.
he's very anxious. Very anxious.
Listen, he is our little guy.
Literally.
And then
I also forgot how young they were. For some reason I always thought that like they were older, and I guess like Carter is older than Percy in Percy's first book, but Sadie being 12, I was like, what? My mind was not like this when I was 12.
I think it's because I think it's because you, as a reader, were probably older when you were reading these books as opposed to the first Percy books. Yeah. The first Percy book, it like, I don't know, I was probably 12. I don't fucking remember. Yeah. But like, it feels more normal to you. But when you look back on a 12-year-old, you're like, what? No. They can't.
Yeah, I almost would have put Carter up to 16 and Sadie up to 14 for this series, especially for some later
for some stuff. Yeah, that's for stuff that happens later. I would agree with you.
Yeah, but that'll happen later. That's a can of worms. But yeah, I definitely would have, I think, aged them up by 2 years, I think.
And I do think that would have made some sense, but I get why Rick did it this way too, you know, given that like his original protagonist was the same way.
Yeah, it's just one of those where Sadie feels like slightly younger than everyone else, and it's weird.
Possibly too young.
Yeah.
Perhaps. So, jump through the hourglass. Zia fights Serket, and she does, like, a pretty good job generally. The escape gate opens up as a swirling vortex of sand. It does not sound like the most pleasant trip, for Sadie especially, but Zia is busy, so she doesn't care. She binds the goddess with some magic ribbons and removes her from her host, but instead of defeating her, she just starts reforming into an even bigger scorpion, and so we, like, dip out of that situation, do not want to deal with that. That's it. Yeah. This chapter was like 6 pages.
Yeah, it was short.
It was a short, boy. Yeah. But I was like, I'll get you on for our last Serket chapter. So you
listen.
Talk about the past 3 chapters of her being here. Listen, how did you feel about big evil lady?
Well, I'll read you a line.
Okay.
I'll read a line for you. Her voice. Let me really lean in for this. Her voice was harsh and raspy, as if she hadn't spoken in centuries. Say no more.
That does it.
The shirt's off.
Yeah, okay.
The pants are off. Like, yeah,
good.
So, the bar is
my god.
Yeah. Oh, and also we've got some hateful black eyes. That sounds intriguing. The sideways mandibles that snap and retract outside her regular human teeth in her mouth are a little concerning, but it's not a deal breaker, okay? It is a little concerning, and I'd be, but as long as they're very easily controlled, as long as she's got it under control, I think, smash. Oh, we're not doing smash or pass. Yes, I forgot we're here to talk about.
See, Charlie has arachnophobia, I've discovered recently, so I'm assuming this is a pass.
This is very much a pass for me, just based on that.
Yeah.
If she weren't the goddess of scorpions, I would understand. But
yeah. I mean, we've also got Serket clicked her mandibles in a gruesome foamy grin. That's a little this is my, like, there is a line. I do have a line. This is, like,
I'm glad you do.
Like, close to the line, but it's not over the line.
You're not into, like, foaming like a lobster.
I really like lobsters. So, the mandibles, but it does seem that, like, they're retractable. So, I mean, what else does she do this chapter? She's clicking her mandibles, which just makes me think of that Harry Potter scene. She's got lots of scorpions that wriggle into her robes. I mean, that's convenient.
Okay.
Full of scorpions.
Honestly, that reminded me of a scene from, like, oh my god, one of the recent Addams Family movies where, like, I'm forgetting her name, but Morticia.
Morticia.
Like, out of her dress comes, like, a million spiders and it makes like a little bridge.
Are you guys
walk across?
Wait, is that a scorpion in your robe, or are you just happy to see me?
Are you guys familiar with Spiders Man, which is a colony of spiders who ate Peter Parker and believe that they are him?
That is a thing.
Yes, there is a Spider-Man who is Spiders Man, who is a bunch of psychic spiders in a Spider-Man suit. Mentally, they are Peter Parker.
I hope they put that into the next Into the Spider-Verse.
I really, really do. I love Spiders Man. I'm so charmed.
Yeah. What else has she got going on here? I mean, I will say being bound with ribbons. That's kind of like that's a little
potentially. Yeah.
And also I do think the star of the chapter is Zia, because I think she's a badass.
Yeah, Zia kills
I don't remember anything about her character. So I'm excited to learn more. Because I remember that, like, Carter of course has a crush on her. I mean, who wouldn't?
So does Sadie though.
I know. Like this she was all like, and then I instantly decided that I hated her. And I was like, girl, we've all been there.
Yeah, for real. I'm glad that you are also seeing this.
Yeah. I like that much better than other
my god.
ships. Yeah.
Before we get into this really short chapter, let's talk about a goddess who might fill up some of our time.
Charlie was
because
like,
I
let me
was
just
like,
slot this
I
in
was
here.
like, okay, I need to talk about like something involving this, and I could either wait till the goddess herself comes up, or I could just slot her in here because she was mentioned. So
Yeah.
because we have the 7 ribbons of Hathor, we have to talk about Hathor.
Okay. I was like, where are you getting this from? That works for me.
Yeah.
I now accept
that
this
makes sense.
more than I did before. I always thought you were valid, but
Yeah.
Listen, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you
do. It's my job. That's why I'm here. So, you know who she is? She's pretty cool. She's a major goddess. She's a sky deity. Consort of Horus.
Yeah.
And also a few different people. One of them being Ra, even though Ra also is her dad. It's fine.
It's flexible.
It's fine. Yeah. And I guess she had kids with one of these people. Potentially. So she is especially connected to like motherliness and kingship. And I'm gonna say that this means that maybe she's the mother of the pharaohs symbolically. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. How do you feel about that, Adele? How do you feel about being super motherly?
Okay, well, well, I personally am more of like a fun gay aunt kind of vibe. Yeah. But I think there's like motherhoodness, and I think there's like matriarchal power.
Yeah.
And I think Hathor is very like matriarchal power. Like she's got this divine feminine that stems from the fact that like she's like the fertility goddess. So not just like motherhood, but like the ability to create and sustain life. And I think in a place like Egypt, that's so important because, you know, it's a desert. So life, nourishment, and, you know, the pharaoh also has to sustain life. Like there's that responsibility there. So I think it's like instead of just being like, oh, like, you know, she's depicted as a cow, and so she's very motherly and blah, blah, blah. I would also just say, I think it's like more like this matriarchal power.
Yeah. It is very interesting that both her and Hera are matriarch of like the Greek stuff, have cow symbolism. So again, it's like cows are very motherly symbols. But I do think Hathor is a bit more of Aphrodite-ish. I say this loosely, being like this is going more into Greek stuff, but like Aphrodite kind of has some roots in goddesses similar to Hathor, where it's like matriarchal as well as like sex and beauty and motherhood and like all of like these things.
Feminine, 100%.
Yeah, it's very divine feminine. So Hathor's the goddess of like music, dance, joy, love, sexuality, maternal care.
You know.
And
all of that is life, right? Like vitality, you know,
definitely.
sex, dancing, you know, having these ceremonies, having a good time. That's all vitality. Like very, like music itself in ancient Egyptian times was sacred. Like its predominant use was like sacred for accompanying like religious ceremonies and such. So I think the Temple of Hathor was probably a banging time. I bet it was like parties all the time, great music. Yeah.
Lots of sex.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, and getting drunk.
Beer.
Good.
Oh my God, the ancient Egyptians loved their beer.
Good.
Yes. Yeah. What a time. What a time to be alive.
So Hathor is usually depicted with a like bull's horns thing, and then the sun disk inside of the horns, because she's very associated with like Ra and like the sky as well.
And the sky, the solar power nurturing, you know, plant life, animal life.
Yeah, very
energy.
connected to Ra as well, for some specific reasons. Okay, hey look, it's the Narmer palette. It's right here on this page. We love that. We saw that earlier in this book.
Are you also on the Wikipedia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where else do you think I go?
Yeah. Speaking of the Wikipedia, so there's this cool image if you scroll down, and it's Hathor as a cow, like in her cow form, but she's suckling Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh. So it's like,
I love that.
Associated with the female pharaohs, like giving life, you know, sustaining the new pharaoh of Egypt. And like there's also that like female connection as well. I think that's kind of dope.
We love Hatshepsut, literally. What a boss bitch.
Yeah. Nefertiti, my queen.
Yeah, we love them.
Yeah.
Okay, so
icon.
I love how y'all are just having like inscrutable conversations to me. It's delightful, actually.
Female pharaohs.
I'm very excited to do. Yeah. Oh, I got that. It's just so interesting to me that I do not get the references like I
think
always
they're
did
both
when we were
mentioned
doing
in
Greek
this
shit.
series, though, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they will be.
It's Hatshepsut that wears like the fake beard, or is it both of them?
That's Nefertiti, I think. I mean,
Okay,
technically it's both because the beard is a symbol of being a pharaoh. But I really Nefertiti's the one who's famous for having the bust
that's what it is.
and the kind of crown hat that goes back. Yeah.
Okay, I was mixing them up.
Yeah, and I think Nefertiti's the one who ruled instead of her son. Like she. Yeah, and then also this queen Hatshepsut. Okay, well, it would make sense if they both did. Although no, this queen was also like, okay, in order to establish herself in the Egyptian patriarchy, whoever wrote this Wikipedia article, it's a little. I wouldn't necessarily phrase it like that, but okay, she took on traditionally male roles and was depicted as a male pharaoh. Yeah, so she's the one who has the full headdress and is depicted topless and a lot. And Nefertiti's the one who like has the in the beard.
Yeah,
and
Nefertiti's
like really famous bust Nefertiti.
She's the one who does it for King Tut because he was so young. Yeah. Okay, so Hathor,
Girl boss.
mothership, queenship. We love that connection.
Yeah,
amazing, good stuff.
Yeah, and I think we'll see her properly come up later in the series, I'm sure. So I'm excited to get there if we do. I honestly do not remember, but.
Could happen potentially.
I mean, if we saw her ribbons, I mean, what's next? Like, yeah, let's go for it.
I'm not to say anything. So
it is interesting how the god of music in Greek mythology has like divine cattle, and then Hathor, who's associated with music, also is associated with cattle. Yeah, maybe cattle were just really important back then.
I think that more has to do with their sun thing, actually. I think that's more based on like the sun associations that they both have, because sun are also very associated, or cattle are very associated with the sun.
Okay, yeah.
Like there's this like very famous like piece of art that's just like a bull or something like pulling the the sun across the sky.
And maybe music is like the embodiment of sun brings life, vitality, music brings energy, maybe something like that. I don't know. I don't know enough about that to say.
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure how that comes into it. But okay, I wanted to talk about this so we could get here where we get to this thing called the 7 Hathors. This is where we get the 7 ribbons. Y'all.
Okay.
This is where we
let's talk about the ribbons.
I don't know where the ribbons themselves come from, but when I was like rereading this book and trying to figure out how that comes to be, for some reason there's a lot of manifestations of Hathor where there's 7 of her.
Magic number.
And sometimes it's like, oh, is it because she's a single goddess, or is she like one of many, or what have you? But yeah, there's just like a bunch of them.
The 7 Hathors. So do you think Rick kind of ran with that and was like, oh, this goddess is depicted as having this 7, how do we like manifest that when he was making spells or something like that? I'm trying to think like,
I really like how he did that, because it's like, okay, so this is how this goddess is represented.
Like,
how could I have exactly how could I have a spell that relates to this goddess? She's like, what is she's like a goddess of like so many different things, but like you could say that like this dispelling is like a protection, like a motherly protection kind of thing, maybe. Say,
or like the power of life versus, I don't know. Well, we've got the scorpion goddess, but she can't just be the goddess of scorpions. Is she like a dark goddess?
She's the goddess.
And venomous stings.
Yeah, she's the goddess of venom and also protection against venom. It's like
it makes sense, girl. Choose one. Maybe like venom is like sucking out the life, and Hathor is like bringing the. I don't know. Maybe they're opposing forces in like ideology of kind of draining vitality versus like renewing vitality.
Maybe.
I'm trying to think like why Rick was just like, let me just rip out these ribbons of Hathor. Maybe he just wanted a fancy spell.
This is going to be my biggest theory of like, tell me about this. We got to bring Owen back on here. That's our my friend who does a Riordan lore podcast. To be like, hey, can you explain this specific spell to me?
Yeah. This
and why ribbons. It is like this.
Yeah, not anything else in the series, just this one thing. We'll do a whole episode on that.
Because I'm pretty sure this spell comes back at some point, like in the series. I'm not sure, but I want to say it comes back.
I'm here for it.
This is one of those things that like lives rent free in my brain from this series. Maybe it's because I read this book too many times, or I don't know. I read the first book multiple times. I did not read the other two as many.
I genuinely don't remember the third book at all. I don't even know what it's called. I know there's a boat in one of the books, maybe. No, they already took the boat. Yeah, you know what? It's refreshing being on and being like, I have no sweet clue what happens. Like, except that they have like a spicy scene eating like spicy food. I know I keep saying
right, of course,
spicy. I'm like, that's not like
It's okay. You could just say it's salsa because there's a scene with salsa. So she's got many associations. I've already said like there's a lot going on with Ra and Horus, who are both like kind of sun gods. She accompanied Ra on his solar bark, apparently.
Yeah, nice.
Which makes sense, you know. Again, more associations with like the king and protecting the king. This has her associating with like foreign lands or something. Yeah, again, if she protects Ra, who like travels, and she's also associated with like the sky and other travel things. Makes sense. She's associated with too much shit.
Yeah.
And then there's the dead.
Classic,
I mean, everybody has a death thing.
Yeah. But classic deity.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I feel like when I read the Egyptian deities, it's like everybody is associated somehow with like harvest and birth and, you know, and also death. It's like everybody gets their fingers like a little bit into that at least. One of those things.
I think just because the ideas of like vitality, harvest, and death I just think they're like so much bigger in Egyptian society versus Greek society.
It's all very, very cyclical based on like you know, like the tides and when things were fertile and such.
Well, everything on the bank of the Nile, you know, that whole journey and death and preparing for death. Whereas the Greeks, you know, of course it was like, oh, you go, you pay Karen your gold drachma or whatever.
That's it. Basically.
And then you're judged versus this whole like the trials, and then you're on a boat and you gotta pack your little like wax people and you gotta make sure that the paintings don't have any missing limbs. Like,
and also they can't be straight on, otherwise it could turn into you and steal your life.
Put your organs in a jar. But we don't need the brain.
With big faces on them and all of this. And it,
yeah.
Okay, this paragraph just like sent me for a second while y'all were talking. There's just something about her and the afterlife, and it's like the afterlife also had a sexual aspect.
Oh, of course it did.
Cyrus Smith. Osiris is resurrected, and then he copulates with Isis and conceives Horus. At least in this version of it, he has Horus after he's dead, I guess.
I mean, maybe you can see it freaky.
Hold up 1 second. That doesn't follow with our other shit, which is that they could not find the dick.
I know.
And that's why he couldn't
literally
come back to
part
life.
of the story also before.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. I know that all of this mythology is like, you know, very
multiverse.
Wishy-washy, and there's a lot of different
literally
happening. Yeah, it is a multiverse, totally.
Yeah, but they couldn't find his dick when they tried to find all the pieces of his body.
When they chopped him
and that's why they couldn't bring him back.
Yeah, so how's he
copulating?
Well, he was born from thoughts. So, I mean, maybe they were just manifested him? Gods are weird.
Know. I'm very confused.
Not that there aren't lots of ways to copulate. You can have sex in all kinds of positions and you do not need a dick to do that. But normally...
to conceive a child, there seems to be some... Well, also maybe they had IVF.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, this says Ra and it says the Sky Goddess. I'm assuming that means Hathor. They fucked, and that allowed for Ra to be reborn as well. Oh, it could also be Nut, maybe. It enabled the rebirth of the deceased. Apparently, is what they're saying here. Is that you have sex with a person and then they can come back to life?
Oh no!
I guess.
Dick's so good. Dick's so good. I got resurrected.
Oh, no.
It's the women who served to rouse the deceased to new life, Isis and Hathor. They merely stimulated the male deity's regenerative powers. Stimulated is a very good word, though.
Not the necrophilia necromancy.
Happier person before this aspect of the conversation. Remember that line I was talking about earlier? stimulating the male deity's regenerative whatever was not on my bingo card for today, you guys.
All right, okay.
I thought we were going to talk about the sexy scorpion.
Yeah. I agree. You ready, Charlie?
I'm sorry. That was the most important part that I could have found on this Wikipedia to me because it's so funny.
Yeah, I missed my life of 10 minutes ago when I didn't hear stimulating the male deities. Regenerative, whatever.
God.
Let's talk about
that. Really does sound like a fucked up euphemism.
Do with that.
Okay. So Sadie.
Oh, it's very much a euphemism.
Sadie, our queen.
Mm-hmm.
Sadie, wonderful that she is. Okay.
So remember last chapter and how we left off with like fireballs and stuff? We're back in that.
Yeah.
Drama.
Yeah, more fireballs because Zaya is a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm. Zia? Lots of scorpions.
Do we agree on how to pronounce her name? I already forgot.
I decided it was Zia.
You did decide it was Zia. My brain just keeps going back to Zaya for some reason.
If it was Zaya, it would be ZYA.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, lots of scorpions.
Yeah, I'm not into it. I'm not into the scorpions.
Yeah, I don't like the sound of bugs.
Oh, yeah.
The way they like...
Specifically, like, swarms are pretty upsetting in general.
Mm-hmm. This would upset me.
Very, very much so. We did discover that a group of scorpions is called a nest, which I think is pretty cute.
They're a family, like, I guess. So that means she's got a whole nest of scorpions in her room. I don't know, you guys. My opinion might change after this chapter.
You don't have to unrobe her, okay?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Just leave that on. The rope stays on during scorpion sex.
Yeah. But the scorpion tail is out. Oh yeah. Yeah. But like her long dark hair was unnaturally thick as if made from a million bristling bug antennae. That's not horrible, but it's not great. Like, what shampoo are you using? What's the hair care routine there? Like, I think it could probably be a bit better.
I don't know. I kind of like weird antennae hair. Kind of. I've been past this whole time, but I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun. So
okay. Yeah.
Oh, this whole conversation is making me think of a Baldur's Gate character. Okay.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
You're talking like Karnas. The Drider.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Driders, of course.
Listen, everybody online goes crazy for him, and I'm just like, that's a spider, guys. That's a spider.
He's not my cup of tea, but it's because he's a man. If it was a woman, it'd be a different story. But anyways, this is not a Baldur's Gate 3 podcast. What's going on with I am Mistress of the Elements, Scribe of the First Gnome?
Leave or be destroyed.
What's going on there?
Zia's got titles. She's cool.
But Mistress of the Elements? I don't know what that means.
Mistress of the Elements?
Yeah.
I mean, she's good with fire. Yeah. Fire's her thing.
Maybe she's got other elements.
So she does have some elemental powers.
Fair. And then the first gnome we learned is Egypt, right?
Yes, that is Egypt.
Okay, so she's from Egypt.
Or she works in Egypt or whatever gnomes are like. Yeah.
She's on a mission right now. Like,
yeah.
And then last chapter we learned they're scribes.
It's very like in the name of the moon we shall punish you to me. Like,
yeah.
me just recently rewatching some Sailor Moon. So I was like, I need some comfort.
Yeah, she does just do a lot of fire. I'm trying to see if she does any other element.
Maybe it's just that this
you guys
wand
have to
is specifically a fire wand, or she has a wand and a staff. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have.
She gets rid of her wand.
Yeah, that's like the thing with the wand is that they throw them like boomerangs and they're like diversions or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like
they're not necessarily like.
Okay,
permanent.
Maybe it's Pokemon rules, and she just happens to know that fire is effective against scorpions.
I mean, that's a pretty good assumption. I mean, fire is effective against
fire type
like, most
versus bug type.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then we get a scorpion tail.
The Pokemon battle.
And the scorpion tail is a little freaky, I gotta say. So is so it's darkness. Is the scorpion tail made of scorpions? Is the scorpion tail an actual scorpion tail that's been like sized up? Or is it made out of this like darkness material?
Okay.
It is unclear to me.
So later in the chapter, I
Yeah,
think
the
that
visualization
she's
is a little bit hard.
like forming out of like a black haze. So I'm like assuming that it's sort of the same like swirling darkness material.
It's like a black
I'm imagining
swirling, but it also takes the form of tiny scorpions, I feel like.
I'm imagining like a collection of like black sand that kind of makes like a smog, you know? Something like that.
They do say the shadowy scorpion tail. Okay, so it's not like a physical big scorpion tail that's been like blown up, you know, to giant proportion. Okay. I'm glad we clarified
very
that.
Interesting.
Yeah, the magic system in this is cuckoo crazy. I love it. I'm like, it really feels like anything goes. Like, let me just throw my wand. Ooh, a diversion. Like, let me just like.
Well, the wand is a boomerang. Like,
let me just
they
literally
literally look like
ribbons. That. Like, it's literally, it's giving like magic show.
Yeah, which they literally address. A magician's sleight of hand, Sadie says when she uses a diversion.
Yeah, I love that. Like that. It's fun how there's this magic system versus like combat, which is so Percy Jackson, right? Like he's in there swinging a sword, like they have to like, you know, decapitate the monsters or whatever. Like we saw that with Bast, but it's interesting seeing like a whole new level of combat. Like, let me just pull out some ribbon.
We're gonna have to like go deep into like how this is working D&D level wise, like what their classes are and all of that at some point.
It feels to me like if you feel like something should work, like instinctually, that makes it more likely to work. Like you can make something happen just by saying a power word, you know, just like a regular ass word, you say it, shit happens. Or you know, or like you might do something that feels more ritualistic, and I feel like it's like if it feels like it should work, it probably will, which I like in a magic system.
Yeah.
It's all based on
like,
symbols.
Yeah, it's about
such,
like the symbolism of it. Yeah, exactly. You're so right.
Yeah, I really like that too. And like, so when like a few chapters back, we were like, oh, we're learning about the House of Life. Let's see what that has to do with in ancient Egypt. And like, they kind of had like magicians. They weren't quite the same, but they're just librarians, kind of.
Wait, you mean they weren't the two musicians from the Prince of Egypt who counseled the pharaoh? I love that scene. Tell me you know what I'm talking about. Okay.
It's been a minute since I've seen Prince of Egypt.
We're gonna
I feel like it's been like 20 years at least. Maybe longer.
So good.
But we're gonna cover it someday.
Good.
It's relevant, apparently.
All right, so Zia is in the middle of her combat, and she steps right outside of the magic circle, leaps out of it, you know, which you're not supposed to do when you're using a magic circle for protection. No. But she seems pretty confident, as usual.
Also, this is where Sadie notices the tunnel of sand behind them.
Carter is super down. Sadie is like, I'm not going in there.
That's a nightmare. Are you kidding me? Sand? Do you know how long it takes to get sand out of your clothes? Like, no.
I don't like sand. It's rough. It's coarse. It gets everywhere.
And they do say the word younglings in this chapter too. They say, where are the younglings? Yeah,
kill the younglings.
Didn't know we needed. Oh my god!
Listen, give Zia a lightsaber. Does it feel so out of place? I don't think so.
Fine.
I mean, a flaming staff, that's kind of like a lightsaber.
I feel like the outfits are very similar to the Jedi robes.
Because they also live on, like, desert planets. Well, no, I guess I was thinking about Luke. I wasn't thinking about Jedi robes. I started talking before you were done, because I do that.
It feels very similar to me. Just add some boots to the mix, and then they're Jedi.
Amazing. Honestly, I love these outfits. They were complaining about them a couple chapters ago, but I was like, oh my god, linen? Do you know how expensive linen is? A full linen ensemble? Oh my god, I was like, so breathable. Amazing, love it. Quick dry. Yeah, perfect.
Listen, what's wrong
Sadie
with this?
instinctually wants to assist in the combat, and she, like, almost also steps across the protection circle, and Carter's like, girl, no!
Yeah. And then she has this, like, premonition moment.
Fascinating. She's going to use ribbons, they won't work, before Zia even pulls that shit out, which is fun as an audience, where you're like, oh, fun little moment of dread, and then it seems to be working, and you're like, wait, you wrong, Sadie? and then she's not.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good shit.
It was good. Yeah. Release your host or your essence will burn forever. Wow. Like,
Preset?
Yeah.
She can do that, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I also assumed that they needed a spell like this, like Rick needed to have some kind of spell that would dispel gods, you know,
from the host.
Because because that's like especially what the magicians are against right now, is that they're like, no gods, no thank you, none.
Get rid of them.
None for me, please.
And which is something we didn't really see in the other series, except for like Luke and Kronos. Like the idea of a host, like the Greek gods like didn't.
Right,
need that.
they couldn't even do that.
Oh my God.
You know, like Luke had to host a Titan. He had to become basically immortal. Like,
right.
And so this random
But
mortal,
but apparently,
getting like the scorpion
a house
goddess?
cat can do it. Is the implication of what's going on here so far? Like,
yeah.
I'm trying to remember how much of this we've like had.
You are thinking so
right
hard
now,
over there.
but like, but I think the problem with like the Luke versus like Muffin situation is that it's only like a portion of Bast's essence compared to all of Kronos was put into Luke. It was like the pure godly essence of him. While
that makes some sense. If that is how it works.
Yeah. I mean, we did already have Dionysus in the last series be like, oh yeah, like I'm here, but I'm also like
but
over
like
there,
we don't know
like,
that these gods have those
out.
same kind of rules, but like presumably maybe, and so then that would make sense.
I mean, it's a smart writing technique. We're getting reintroduced to this world, this whole idea of like, oh, you know, gods inhabiting hosts. What's that going to look like? Is that going to be important later on? And we're establishing a rule. Okay, like there's this one spell that can actually remove the essence of the god from the host, and the host is just some like regular mortal. It's nice to establish like the rules a little bit.
Yeah, but also, did we just find the thing that could have saved Luke in the last series?
I don't think it's transferable.
Does Zia have it?
I'm just gonna say that now.
Ribbons.
Listen, we can combine magic. We don't know that we can't combine the magic.
We don't think it's the same thing. They're
not allowed in Manhattan.
Possession is probably more.
They're in Manhattan right now.
I know. Well, I know they don't seem to have any like repercussions from that. I had wished there was like going to be a little like we ran into Manhattan and started going to like the Met Museum, and then like there was like thunder in the sky.
That would be pretty fun.
I don't know, like.
But
Rick should have made like a security guard be like, "What are you doing here? You're in the wrong sector or something."
That would be fun.
Oh well, they don't say they're wrong.
That's what I'm assuming is like if you tried to set up camp, then you'd have trouble.
Yeah.
So this spell supposed to dispel her. It doesn't really. The black smoke billows out, and then it goes right back in, and then she becomes a giant scorpion.
Right. So Zia says that it's impossible for her to reform because of the ribbon spell, but Carter's like, she's doing it anyways. So that's interesting. Zia's magic is not working as it's intended for some kind of reason.
Yeah.
Probably because more gods are involved helping her.
Yeah, maybe because Set's been. This is the first chapter I think that Set has been mentioned. Aside from them, like Carter and Sadie, like speculating who the Red Lord could be. Like it's like a third party saying,
right?
Like,
Set is doing like confirms like you have made an enemy of Set.
Yeah. Like okay, so we've got like confirmed big bad, and clearly like somehow maybe he's fueling her power. Like when Bast said, "Oh, we've got other problems aside from like these coffin bearer guys," like they're like, "Oh my god, is it like him?" And then she says like, "No, like it's almost like no, it's middle management." So Serket kind of feels like middle management, right? Like,
but you're saying like maybe she's getting a boost from her employer.
Yeah.
So first,
like she got a promotion.
First, they sent the interns after them, the little coffin guys.
No, the leopards. The leopards are like the janitors.
Okay. We get the janitors, we get the interns, and then we get Serket, our middle management.
Yeah. And we'll eventually, I think, we'll next level, like next boss is like right hand man, maybe CFO.
Sweet.
Yeah, and then big bad.
So
we'll see if it goes that way.
We've pretty much made it to the end. Since she's reforming, they decide that it's too dangerous, and all of them, and also the portal's closing, so we want to like get in that before it's gone. So we run in and we're done.
Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah, It was 6 pages. I'm so glad I brought you on for 6 pages. We still talked for over an hour.
Yeah, so
well, there's lots to talk about. And Carter's little crush on Zia. Like, see, we haven't talked about this yet.
Okay,
this puppy dog eyes, like soft boy trope with like mean woman.
We haven't had a Carter perspective yet. We just have Sadie being like, "Oh, you have a crush on Zia," and like no actual evidence as far as I can tell so far.
Yeah,
but so I'm gonna give my I'll wait until I see what my boy has to say.
yeah.
It's little sister's intuition as far as we know right now.
Yeah.
But also, is Sadie reliable, seeing as she also thinks Zia is hot?
I mean,
Sadie can keep it under control this time, at least.
Yeah, Bicon Sadie. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, things are happening fast. Like, it's like, what, Christmas Day?
It is still Christmas Day.
Yeah, it is still Christmas.
Like, I've kind of forgot how fast shit was moving. I'm like, this is chapter 12 and it's Christmas Day. Like, it's been like 48 hours.
I'm wondering if it's next chapter or like very soon that we're not going to be in Christmas anymore, and I'm going to be very sad because I can no longer make Christmas jokes. Because I was making so many. It's not Christmas.
After Christmas means it won't be Christmas.
Jokes, and then that's true. After Christmas isn't Christmas.
Yeah. One thing I do love about Rick's books is I love like a timeline. Like, I love a deadline. Like, there's always like the solstice. And conveniently, I'm telling you this 7 days before the solstice. And this one's like, conveniently, I'm going to try this, like, I don't know, what is like 5, there's 5 demon days and they're coming soon. Like, they're next week or whatever.
It's like the day after, like 2 days after Christmas is when it starts or something.
Yeah. They wait till the Boxing Day sales are over. Yeah. But I love, like, I have classic deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Adele, for joining us to talk about whether Serket was smash or passable. I
still think smash, but I think it would be like a smash and then like check it off the box. Like, I don't think it would be like a repeat thing.
Notch on the bedpost.
I don't know. Personality-wise, I just don't really think we mesh.
Yeah.
She seems to be like a woman of very few words. And while I admire her tenacity, she's very goal-oriented, she's very driven. I don't love like possessing a random woman's body. I respect like bodily autonomy. So like, I don't really love that decision.
Yeah. So I think
there's ethics.
We've been talking about recently on whether we could fuck Bast or not. And because Muffin is the host, no.
Oh yeah, that's a bummer. I was thinking that earlier because I was like, damn, she's hot, but
real shame.
Also, so I guess that means that you do need the host to be like, hey, are you cool with this? Cool. Before anything goes forward anyway.
Yeah, this is a good point because it's different with the Greek gods. They would just be like, I'm a fucking swan.
They're just out there doing whatever.
Yeah, but for this, it's like, oh, clearly everyone has a host. You can't just like, they do mention like the pure essence of the gods, and that's like under the duat, like the duat, like the deep levels of that is like there. I think she says something like,
so if you go down there,
just go for a swim, and then But I think it's the idea, like, once again, like, the whole pure essence of the gods will kill mortals.
Right. Can't even look at them.
Yeah.
Sucks. Oh, well. Just have Serket possess someone that you want to fuck anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm imagining,
like, hey,
godly consent forms. Like,
oh my god.
You have permission to fuck these people while you are possessing my body.
Yeah.
Like ticking off some boxes. Yeah, totally. Serket, she is a pass for me, but like I do think she's hot. It's just like I don't think we're gonna mesh personality wise. She needs to be a little more fun.
I'm still a little freaked out by the mandibles. Are they retractable? Like, are they permanent? What's going on there?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just know
retractable. Sideways mandible snapped and retracted outside her regular human teeth, so she can put it away because sensitive.
Yeah.
but it was mandatory for you to come on for the Monster Lady episode.
Of course.
Always. I'm so glad that I fulfilled a niche. Yeah. I'm happy with this reputation.
All right, Adele, do you want to tell the folks where to find you on the internet?
The best place is probably the Discord server. I'm not really active on social media much, except for sometimes on Instagram. But yeah, the Discord server for sure. I'm always talking about like what shows I'm watching, Baldur's Gate memes. Yeah, that's
recently you hosted Rings of Power when MC was out.
Yeah, when MC wasn't here, I did a watch long. That was fun. I'm really sad Rings of Power is over, but
I still need to watch the finale.
Yeah, I feel like it's like Rings of Power and then Agatha and then Arcane is coming soon. So I feel like I'm fueled for like the next couple months in terms of content. Yeah. And now this has really made me want to rewatch Moon Knight.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
so speaking of media, do you have a media for us?
Actually, I feel like, I'm going to plug a book. The book club in the Discord Reddit is called I think A Master of Djinn by P. Djèlí Clark. And it's basically Egypt, steampunk Egypt, magic, and Egyptian gods. And like Genie. And it's super, super cool. It's really fun. It's sapphic. It's a great, it's like, it's been a while since I have read a book that's so like refreshing in its fantasy setting that like I was just like sucked in, like fully immersed. And it was such a rich way of storytelling. Yeah, I loved it. So I like in the terms of this, like kind of on the Egypt theme, I would plug that. It was a really, really, really good book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesomeness.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll plug the next thing that I've been watching. I've been explaining everything that I've been watching recently, like in a lot of detail in the past couple episodes, because I watched in my lead up to watching Xena Warrior Princess. I had to get the backstory from Hercules' Legendary Journeys.
Oh, you watched that?
Agreed.
And recently I plugged 2 of those movies because I was like, okay, these are not bad myth retellings. I enjoy those. Those were good. So then I watched season 1 of Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. And I was like, okay, we're starting off strong. We set up his whole family in like the 5 movies. He had his wife and then he had his kids. First episode, fireball. They're all dead in an instant. You don't even have to have them on for the episode. You don't have to pay them for that shit. Like, whatsoever. And then it becomes very monster of the week, as you do, which, like, I don't have a problem with. I don't know exactly what myths they were retelling in some of those episodes.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I was like, oh, I got a reference here. Like, he's running from 50 ladies. I like that. I know that myth.
Yeah.
There's a myth where some guy wants him to fuck all 50 of his daughters.
Yeah.
Hercules gets out of that in the show. And instead, I think Salmonius is the one who gets to fuck them. Salmonius is my favorite character.
Have you seen Xena? Like all like the
I have. Have.
Because it's infinitely superior to Hercules.
It is. But I'm enjoying what I can from Hercules right now. I enjoy Salmonius.
I love a side.
As like, we have Hercules, our protagonist, who like fights things and like does it for like, I want to protect the innocent. You have his bestie Aeolus, who's like, I will also fight things. I have adrenaline feelings, and also he's a tinier guy than Hercules, and he definitely has issues with the fact that Hercules is the son of a god, and he's jealous of him, and it's been covered several times at this point, and I'm like, this is 6 seasons long, I think, so we're gonna have to deal with that for a while.
Yeah.
And then we got Salmonius, who appears every so often, and he is like the capitalist. Like, he always has a new scheme. He starts off and he's like, oh, I have like these like new cool like robes or like new clothing or something that everybody should try wearing. You want to try these? You want to have an order? And then he's got a new scheme. He's always on the hustle.
He's always at the grind.
He's always in the grind. He's kind of a bard, maybe Bard Rogue or something.
Charisma,
like, I'm trying to figure it out. Very, very charisma based dude. But like, and like at one point he's like, I'm gonna write down Hercules Hercules' like whole life story. Yeah. I don't know. I find him charming in the fact that like everybody's fighting and he's just over there in the corner like, I don't know why I'm here.
Valid. That would be me, to be honest. Yeah, Hercules and Xena, what a time to be alive. I wish I was alive when Xena was airing every week. What I would kill for.
Right? Okay. I was literally having this thought while I was watching the show, and like you have the 3 episodes of Xena, like in Hercules setting up the thing. And it was always planned to be like 3 episodes of her, but it was supposed to end with her dying.
Yeah.
Is what I've heard. But then they were like, oh, people really liked her so much that we decided,
like half-dressed Lucy Lawless flying around hitting guys. What
we decided
market we're tapping into? What could it be?
To make this like evil warlord lady and give her a redemption arc in her own show.
Yeah.
Like that spins off from this. And I'm like, God, if I had time travel, this is what I would use it for, is to like go back to a fandom moment like that and see how that goes on in real time and be like,
no Tumblr, just like message boards.
Like how were they finding this out from people? Like
writing letters, I guess. I don't know.
Typewriters.
Like they didn't have Twitter. How are you?
I know. They had like
this engagement.
Online message boards and news articles. What a time.
And there's like only 1 or 2 episodes in between like the first Xena episode and then the next one, which is the 2-parter. Yeah. So I'm like, it's a really quick turnaround from like that to her being a fan favorite and getting like redeemed within those 2 episodes and then getting a spinoff after. It's like
woman's ball costume, hot, hitmen, evil.
Yeah,
sexy.
yeah.
I will say I do not buy her with any of the guys yet that we've seen her with, because in the first episode she's supposed to be romancing Herc's best friends as a way to deceive them both and get Herc to kill his own best friends and then kill Hercules himself. It's a convoluted plan. Yeah. I'm just like, why are you interested in him? And then her and Hercules kiss at the end of like her last episode, and I'm like, I'm not believing this is a romance. Like, I believe y'all are bros. I can believe that.
Lesbian,
but it's
icon,
a little bit
the warrior princess. Yeah.
I got bi vibes. There was like one guy in her show that I was like, I can believe you two have a connection, actually. But Gabrielle.
Yeah. Honestly, this just means we need to start a Xena podcast.
Y'all could do it.
Adele.
This is dangerous.
I'm making money at these podcasts at this point if I'm gonna only podcast.
Yeah.
If I start a 4th one
right now. Yeah.
I need to make money.
If you guys want to help Charlie and talk to Adele, you could join our Patreon. If you want to feed Charlie's podcasting addiction.
Yeah.
Support us on Patreon. And also you can listen to us watch Moon Knight 1 episode at a time per month.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yay.
It's gonna be very good. I'll talk more about Xena next time. Sorry, you won't be here.
That's okay. I'll know you're talking about her and I'll just be like, oh, Xena. I'll feel it. Mm-hmm.
I loved her when I was 4. I think that's what made me gay.
Good.
I used to watch Xena as a very small child. So
I think there's an Egyptian episode of Xena.
Oh, of course there is. Bro, it's not just Greek shit. They pull from like all over that
bonus
area.
Episode.
I've never seen any Xena. Could be the time.
It could be. Or I'll make you watch those 2 movies.
Oh boy.
They know now. They know now.
Oh my gosh.
Raye, do you have a plug?
Sure. I was reading Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction, and so then we were talking about Miraculous Ladybug before we started recording. So let me, plug a creator in that fandom, if any of you care. So Buggachat, you can find, I believe, her under that name on AO3 or Tumblr. That is a writer and comics creator who is, the funniest person on the fucking planet. She gets it. The ridiculous identity shenanigans that should be going on in this series. For real. Specifically, everyone should read the bakery quote-unquote Enemies comic where Adrian and Marinette like never met in their civilian lives, and then like after they defeat their villain, he starts working at her family's bakery, and she's like, "Why's the villain's son working in my parents' bakery? I'm suspicious of him." And he's just like trying to live his life, just chilling, and everyone like hates him because he's publicly like this villain's son, and he's like so sad and lonely because he never got to reconnect with his superhero partner. He's like going through it, and she's just being so mean to him. It's really funny.
Damn.
So that's a good one.
I love how easy it was to find this person.
Oh yeah, like she is like insanely popular, like you would not believe.
God's work.
And then, like, on AO3, I just read Drowning in Plain Sight, which is also, like, a post-canon thing about a character finding out that they're not strictly human, and then having a breakdown about that, and then, like, all of the friends finding out, and having to, like...
I wonder which character.
Yeah, I don't know how to, like, not spoil Miraculous Ladybug. Everything that happens in that show is so fucking ridiculous that you're like...
Starting off with the fact that it's French.
Shit just happens in that show, don't worry about it.
It has a very specific style. Yeah.
Anyways.
It's wonderful, okay?
So yeah, there's a couple of fics.
Oh,
check
I'm
out
not
this
hating.
person.
I just think it's
Buggachat, very cool. Yeah, there you go.
I like that.
Very, very cool. We love supporting creators.
Release us from this mortal coil.
Okay, I guess I will. I'm gonna, you're gonna get the fuck out of my house because I'm gonna, like, use these 7 ribbons and I'm gonna, like, release you from your mortal host.
Whoa.
And you're gonna be dismissed and gone.
I'm going through the vortex first. Bye!
Yeah, okay. I don't like sand, but I'm going anyways.
Bye. Of the Eldest Gods would like to thank its $10 and up patrons. This means you're either in the Savior of Olympus tier or the God Complex tier on our Patreon, patreon.com/oftheeldestgods. Thank you all so much for your support, especially Matt, our God Complex patron.
You can follow this podcast socials at Of the Eldest Gods Pod on Instagram and Tumblr. You can send us a message through the Duat to oftheeldestgodspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us financially, join us at patreon.com/oftheeldestgods. By becoming a patron, you can join the Deus Ex Media Discord server, where you'll be able to chat with us and other listeners about the Riordanverse or whatever else. Our $5 patron tier also gets you access to Against All Odds, our monthly bonus show. There, we'll talk about a wide variety of topics, which usually have something to do with mythology, no promises. You can check out our merch store on Redbubble to find custom designs made by Charlie. Or if you cannot or do not want to support us financially, we'd really appreciate a rating, a review, or letting your friends and followers know how much you love the podcast. That really helps. If you want to hear more from me, Raye, check out Barbie Movie Slap, a podcast where my co-host Ted and I discuss Barbie's cinematic universe. That podcast's Twitter is at Barbie Slaps.
You can follow me, Charlie, at GreenPixie12 on most platforms. I also have an art Instagram at GreenPixieDraws. You can also hear my voice on 2 other podcasts. I co-host another podcast on the network with the meme maker Robert called The Bits, where we talk about the Cartoon Network show Steven Universe. I also co-host a non-network podcast with my buddy Ethan called Mysteries in the Machine, where we talk about all things Scooby-Doo. Our music was created and produced by Isabel Strauss-Riggs. You can find Isabel at Kane I, that's I is in the body part, on Instagram and Twitter. She also currently makes video essays on the YouTube channel, Kane I. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast.
Of the Eldest Gods is based on the series by Rick Riordan. Right now we are discussing The Kane Chronicles. Remember to follow us on your favorite podcatcher and meet us back here every Thursday.
On my first podcast, That's What I'm Tolkien About, I experienced the world of J.R.R. Tolkien for the first time. Now, I'm turning my attention to a galaxy far, far away. My name is Mary Clay, and I am embarking on my first ever journey through the world of Star Wars. Join me each Tuesday as I drive deeper into hyperspace and discover what this vast universe has to offer. My guests will become like Obi-Wan Kenobi as they guide me through this adventure. The sequel trilogy is good information to have because I didn't know what to refer to those movies as.
There's a sequel trilogy, and then there are 2 spin-off movies that have come out in the last 10 years.
Okay, so very similar to Shrek. Shrek had the original trilogy, and then it had some spin-offs with Puss in Boots.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly like that.
Listen to Skywalk Before You Run every Tuesday wherever podcasts are found.
Okay.
Welcome to Nope.
Woo! No.
This is Andrew today.
Dave X Media.